I came across a cycling route guide featuring an intriguing trail just across the border in Slovenia, the green Karst. A quick call with my friend Lorenzo was all it took to load up the bikes and set off to explore this land of rolling hills, hidden caves, and a history carved into the landscape. From Milan, it takes just a few hours by car to reach the starting point. And here, by sheer luck, we meet Natasha and Thomas, two local guides about to follow the original route to check the trail conditions. Generously, they agree to guide us for a few days, giving us the perfect introduction to this incredible journey. Quick briefing in the morning with our friends before departure, and then we leave quickly, leaving behind the first Slovenian village with an unpronounceable name which contains more consonants than vowels. And immediately first technical inconvenience. It almost always happens during a trip, but damn, this time right at the beginning. Finished the asphalt, begins our rock and roll in the green Karst. That is, a loop ride largely on well-maintained dirt roads, free of traffic, fast, and with a few thousand feet of fun up and down.
Sento qualche rumore.
Sulla bici?
Le bici, sì.
Non è la bici, sono le mie ginocchia.
Oh.
The first stop comes after a few hours of travel, when on the right, near Pivka, appears the building that houses the park of the military history of the Slovenian armed forces. And the guided tour is a must, if only because seeing displayed weapons from Russia, America, France, and even Italy are clear evidence of the historical and political complexity of the country. Absolutely to try is the use of the flight simulator of a Soviet MiG-21. Lorenzo does well. I, on the other hand, crashed. If you suffer from claustrophobia, I do not recommend a visit to the mini-submarine that was equipped until a few years ago by the Slovenian Navy. I believe that living in 10 sailors for several days, always sitting underwater and being inside this underwater cucumber must require uncommon skills. It is certainly more pleasant to exhale the fresh air in the woods, where small streams abound, like bees on honey. A few short, totally flat trails are alternated with long climbs, at times even challenging. On dirt roads, however, when the slope is exaggerate, I put my foot down, and I am not even the only one. From the top of a hill, we catch a glimpse of today's final destination, the village of Kosese. On this relief, except for a beautiful little church all around, there is nothing. It is the ideal place for a little relaxation before committing to the descent, entirely gravel but fortunately not too technical, and which takes us to our destination. All around us, we are surrounded by fields overrun with colorful flowers and bees in frantic activity. In Kosese, we become children again for a few minutes. Then, having arrived at our guest house, before dinner, the owners show us how honey is extracted from the hives. Lorenzo and I are city dwellers, some things we have never seen, and we are surprised that the method is basically simple and ingenious. And so, a jar of honey I take home with me. Kosese is a small town. Once there were Italians here, and their presence can still be glimpsed in some buildings. After World War I, this area was included in the Italian borders. But then history was rewritten differently. And even the old Italian pasta factory is, for decades, completely abandoned. From Kosese we start to climb, initially on asphalt and then on a dirt road, where in the most challenging sections, despite the 2.1-inch wheels, you struggle to climb. Of course, looking around, the appellation green Karst seems definitely appropriate. To get to the highest point of our tour, we have to engage the wheels on a small road with sometimes really steep sections, and having passed a few climbs with double-digit inclines, we put our foot down and we push on by hand on a trail that exceeds 20%, before reaching the marker that marks the end of the climb. If you have obtained the appropriate booklet for the green Karst trails, you can use the stamp placed inside the special steel drawer that also contains ink. If you do not have the booklet or have forgotten it, you can find some alternative solution.
Do you know what is the best part of cycling?
No, I have no idea.
Marenda.
Oh, yeah.
Having passed an old bunker built in the 1920s by the Italians, the wheels point firmly toward a mountain resort of Masun. a decidedly small town, consisting basically of a couple of buildings. And here, next to the elegant building of the ancient gamekeepers, stretches a seemingly impenetrable coniferous forest. It is said that this is the best place for a close encounter with the brown bear, which has always populated the area. It is said to be enough to follow its tracks.
Lorenzo, mi hanno detto che questa è la zona buona per vedere gli orsi. Passo del leopardo.
Andiamo a vedere.
Ok. Ah! Che c'è?
Cacca!
Guarda lì, un cucciolo! Schifo. Vicino al fiume, un cucciolo. Spettacolo!
Oh, la mamma lì a destra!
Minchia nervosa questa.
Indietreggiamo, passo del gambero.
Ok. C'è!
Cacca!
Ma non impari mai!
Natasha and Thomas know the area well, and it is fun to travel with them. They show us a curiosity which we would never have found on our own. This old stone that marked a road, the Gorgestrasse. The stone has remained. The road, on the other hand, has disappeared. A little further, along the road we are following, we find what remains of a tiny Italian barracks. It was probably a military garrison, put there to control the borderline that, in the 1920s, passed nearby. The garrison is located along the route that leads, after a few kilometers, to a place with the usual unpronounceable name, Kosarishi. Here you should definitely put a waypoint, because in this locality stands, indeed, the 19th century castle of Snesnik. It is a small castle, almost a big villa, which, however, like architecture, looks like something out of some fairy tale book or a Walt Disney cartoon. And since there is no shortage of water in Slovenia, the presence of a water theme park was inevitable. There is an air of spring and the traffic is almost nil. It enhances the smells which for us citizens are almost a distant memory, the smells of fields and freshly cut hay. By the way, I've not seen a scarecrow since I was a child. In any case, as much as the waterways help keep the temperature cool, there is quite a bit of heat on the streets, which, combined with exercise and sweat, suggests plenty of hydration.
Sergio,
Ehi,
fa un caldo bestiale, che ne dici di una birra?
è una buona idea perché fa veramente caldo oggi. Andiamo a vedere, dai, mettiamo
Dai.
giù.
14,18 €.
Sergio, ho trovato queste.
Non essere ridicolo, vai a metterle via. Those few stretches of asphalt on which we have to ride pass through tiny villages with a very characteristic appearance, and where it is common to find ancient wash houses still in operation. Here you can find very fresh water with which to quench your thirst. Our friends point the wheels in a northerly direction, and we pedal on dirt roads in splendid condition and perfectly maintained. After a few kilometers, we arrive at the lake in the town of Kernica, which, however, on our arrival has simply disappeared. This is its characteristic feature. It is an intermittent lake. Sometimes it is there and sometimes it is not. And when the basin is full, it is the largest lake in the country. When we arrive, it is little more than a puddle. But this 30 square kilometer marsh is a paradise for birdwatchers. There is no doubt that water here in the Karst has had and still has a fundamental importance in the geography of the places, digging over the millennia very long caves where innumerable streams flow and converge, which remain largely underground. One of these caves, the Krizna cave, is very special indeed. It has been known for a long time, as can be seen from the graffiti drawn by visitors already in past centuries. It is famous not so much for calcium carbonate formations, because here in the area there are caves with much more beautiful and impressive stalactites and stalagmites. But in this cave came hibernating bears, which in total darkness with the passage of millennia, rubbing against the limestone formations, had made them smooth to mark the path and facilitate orientation. They were bears of gigantic size, as can be seen by comparison with the jawbone of a present-day bear, exceeding a ton of weight. In the solidified mud, it is easy to find the remains of those bears who no longer woke up from hibernation and died in the cave. The river then can be navigated for another 7 kilometers and finally is lost underground along with many other rivers, forming a spider web of submerged water. We resume the route until we reach the very special 16th century castle of Predjama, the largest castle in the world built inside a cave. And then back on a road, where a milestone put there in 1920 reminds us that the border between old Yugoslavia and Italy passed through here, just where this little road now runs, leading to a new castle, that of Habsburg. Or rather, what remains of the castle, after the partisans burned it down in 1944 to prevent German troops from occupying it. Of what was one of the most beautiful Slovenian castles, nothing remains now but ruins. In the fire were completely destroyed the interior, the archives of the household, and even the crypt of the last owners belonging to the Windisch-Grätz dynasty. We cover the last kilometers on a gravel path, pedaling a track that takes us directly back to the starting point. However, it is not permissible to leave out a visit to the town of Postojna, that of the very famous caves. The caves are certainly the most famous place in this area. They are huge and miles long. You even enter them by taking a little train. But the spectacle is fantastic with that endless succession of stalactites and stalagmites. They are the silent witnesses of a history that began 70 million years ago, with the first drop of water filtered into the caves through the ground. To us, however, there would still remain one correct thing to do. That is to make ourselves presentable for the return home, and what better place than the oldest barber store in all of Slovenia? And this journey too is over. We return home, but not before thanking Thomas and Natasha, our invaluable guides.